She should just leave. If you've ever had a friend or a loved one in a domestic violence situation, you know how tempting that sentiment is. You want them out of the scenario and you just think they should leave the abuser. I've been working in domestic violence in some form or fashion since I was 17 years old. 33 years doing this, and it's still the first thought that I have. However, just leaving can be extremely dangerous. The most dangerous time in an abusive relationship is the 72 hours following the end of the relationship. When a victim attempts to exert control, they are much more likely to be subjected to severe violence, including homicide. Abusers often threaten suicide as well, and many of them go through with it. Earlier this year, at one of the college campuses in my town, I live in Richmond, Texas, outside of Houston, Texas. At Rice University, there was a murder-suicide with a domestic violence situation. And these things are not uncommon. In fact, they're very, very common. In addition to attacking a victim, an abuser may escalate violence against children. They may target pets with abuse, death, or a lot of them will dump pets. The risks are substantial. Pretending like they don't exist does a grave disservice to victims. In order to leave safely, you have to take all of these risks into account when doing your safety planning. And you need to look at your individual circumstances. If, for example, your abusive partner is a member of law enforcement, you may not be able to use law enforcement resources in your area, or you may need to judiciously use them. For example, if they are a member of your municipal police department, you may need to seek help from your sheriff's department. If they work for the prosecutor's office, you probably don't want to go there to get your protective order. You may need to seek help from a private attorney. I have a family member who was married to an abusive police officer who sought a protective order with a private attorney. Someone in the courthouse notified him before she left the courthouse, and he was calling her phone, blowing it up. She couldn't get him served. These things are not supposed to happen, but we live in the real world, not the ideal world. So when we talk about the dangers of leaving an abusive situation, you have to really, really look at generic risks and also your individual risks. One of the biggest risks is that you will be murdered. Later on in my series, we're going to discuss a lethality assessment. There are certain factors that we look at to see if someone is likely to kill their partner. Almost all of these homicides happen at the end of a relationship. There are certain red flags that indicate that you are at a much higher risk of being killed. While the lethality assessment doesn't guarantee someone's going to try to use deadly violence, and it certainly doesn't guarantee safety if someone doesn't have any of those red flags, it is a powerful tool in helping people plan to leave safely. So, why don't they just leave? Because it might not be safe for them to do so at this time. As tempting as it can be to get really frustrated with someone that we love who is in one of these situations and isn't leaving, they know their abuser better than we do. They know the dark and ugly side that maybe no one else does. So if they think they're at risk, they probably are. I'm going to be giving information about domestic violence every day in October. This is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I'll be talking about safety planning and the lethality assessment. I'll also be sharing resources where people can work with people to develop their own safety plans. A great resource is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Their phone number is 1-800-799-SAFE, S-A-F-E. They're also available online at thehotline.org. It is highly recommended that if you access these resources and you're in an abusive relationship, that you do so from a phone or computer where your usage cannot be traced. You can follow me at Barbara Tatum Law on YouTube and on Instagram. I'm also available on Facebook, Barbara Tatum Law, and my website is www.barbaratatumlaw.com. I am not practicing divorce work, and I don't actually work in protective orders anymore. So my legal assistance for individuals is limited. However, because domestic violence is and will always be something that impacts my life and something that I see impacting lives around people around me, I am going to try my best to educate people and point you towards resources. So while I'm not your best source for information or help, if you have questions that you feel like you can't ask other people, I'll try my best to answer them. I'm only licensed to practice law in Texas, so I cannot answer any legal questions outside of the state. But I can hopefully point you to resources where they can get you to someone that can answer those questions. Please stay safe, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.